Hello, friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Before we take you to your favorite Sports History Network show, just want to tell you a little bit about some merch that you can pick up that represents your favorite SHN podcasts. So far, there's t-shirts, coffee mugs, and even books from some of the authors that do podcasts right here on SHN. Who could buy something better than that, than have the history right from the gentleman that you hear talking about it? But we also are adding things each and every day. And where's that store, may you ask? Well, it's at SportsHistoryNetwork.com. Up at the top, there is the SHN merch button. Click on that. It'll take you right to the store, and you can be representing your favorite podcast and show the world that, hey, on the swag that I'm using, it's the headquarters of sports yesteryear, Sports History Network, and my favorite podcaster, the Sports History Network store. Shop there today.
This is Steve Fidel, former linebacker for the University of Pittsburgh Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you're listening to the Total Sports Recall Podcast, a part of the Sports History Network. Now here's your host, Harv Aronson.
You are listening to the Total Sports Recall Podcast, where you get sports from a different angle with a Pittsburgh twist. Welcome to Total Sports Recall. This is your host, Harv Aronson, and on this show, I welcome the head coach of the Louisville High School football team in Louisville, Ohio, who also graduated from my alma mater in Pittsburgh, North Hills High School. My guest is Chris Kappas, who is not just a head coach, but a physical education teacher at Louisville as well. Chris has a very impressive athletic background, so before I bring him on the show, let's take a look back at Chris's amazing resume. For the North Hills Indians, Chris Kappas was the starting defensive back in 2002 when his team won the Western Pennsylvania Interscholastic League runners-up for the championship. That year, he was also an honorable mention all-conference defensive back. The following season, Chris played on both sides of the ball, starting on defense, but also on offense out of the backfield. He became the team captain in 2003 and was named the team's most valuable player. Additionally, he made the first team all-conference as an all-purpose back. Chris Kappas was also a two-sport star, as he was the Indians' most valuable player in baseball in 2003 while playing the outfield and making all-conference. After graduating from North Hills, Chris would attend two colleges, first at West Liberty State University, where he was named to the 2004 second-team all-conference as a kick returner, while he also started at defensive back. From there, he moved to the University of Mount Union, joining that football team and earning a letter all 3 years as a player on the football team. While starting at defensive back, his team won 3 Ohio Athletic Conference championships. Twice, Mount Union won the national championship, and did it back-to-back in 2005 and 2006. In the process, Chris Kappas made the academic all-conference team as well as the academic all-district team. Once his college football career ended, Chris would serve as a graduate assistant at Mount Union, eventually becoming the defensive line coach for one season, and then being promoted to wide receivers coach and the special teams coordinator. In 2014, Chris was promoted again to defensive coordinator for 2 seasons until he moved to the other side of the ball and became the offensive coordinator for another 2 seasons. In 2019, he went back to defensive coordinator and then left Mount Union following the season to become the defensive coordinator and assistant head coach at Austin Peay State University. He held those positions for 3 seasons until Louisville High School came calling, making him their new head coach. Chris has had many honors to his credit, beginning with being inducted into the North Hills Athletic Hall of Fame. At Mount Union, his teams won the Ohio Athletic Conference title 9 times, including every year from 2008 through 2011 and from 2017 through 2019. Chris was named Ohio Athletic Conference Assistant Coach of the Year in 2014 and in 2017. In 2015, Football Scoop named Chris the National Coordinator of the Year and a finalist for the same honor in 2017. At Austin Peay State University, Chris was there when the team became the Atlantic Sun Conference champions 2 years ago And finally, in 2022, the American Football Coaches Association made Chris Kappas the recipient of the National Assistant Coach of the Year. So now that we know this impressive background of Chris Kappas, welcome to Total Sports Recall, Chris.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Very good. So knowing you played two sports, Chris, which one did you start playing first, baseball or football?
I started playing baseball at a young age. I didn't start playing football until I was in fifth grade. So baseball was my first love, and I was probably a little bit better at baseball. But my passion for football kind of took over as high school kind of went along, and that was kind of my path moving forward into college too.
So in baseball, was it always outfield?
And I grew up middle infielder and pitcher and whatnot. My brother was a really good outfielder, and I kind of wanted to be like him. And, so I found a way onto the field in my sophomore, junior years in high school in the outfield, and then just kind of made that my home from there on out.
And in football, was defensive back your natural position, or did you grow into that?
Yeah, I'd always played DB. I was a quarterback growing up all the way up until ninth grade, and then, moved to more, slot receiver, running back, returner, kind of did everything.
So playing for North Hills, the Indians, the baseball team, what was the most successful season the team had while you were on the roster?
My junior year, we made it to the playoffs. And we didn't get too far. My senior year, we had graduated a lot of really talented guys from that year previous. So I don't think we even made the playoffs my senior year. But we had some good runs. We had some really good summer league teams and whatnot with that group that was a year ahead of me too. So we had some good teams.
Excellent. Anyone you ever played with in baseball or football at North Hills make the pros that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I know we have Harv Aronson that made it.
Yeah, no one of that stature. We had a couple guys I think got some, cup of coffee and, minor league baseball. You got a lot of guys can get a sniff in there, and guys that were a year ahead of me, like Rick Austin was a pitcher, and Steve Long. Those guys were some really good players in college as well. And I know they got some looks, but nothing that really stuck.
Yeah, I know North Hills had a lot of success in later years. Long after I left in '77, I graduated, and our teams were good, but never really made any kind of impact in the WPIAL. But Steve Fidel was on the show before, and he actually made the Steelers. And then there was a couple other guys prior that came after me that made the NFL. But just to clarify, Chris, you were a defensive back, but also played offense. What positions did you play on offense in high school and in college?
So in high school, I played running back. I played receiver. Kind of just was game to game on best ways to be able to attack the defenses. And then I was also a returner. When I got to college, I was, more focused on defense. I never really played much offense in college, but I did return punts and kickoffs throughout my entire college career too.
Oh, cool. All right. So who was coaching at North Hills when you were playing? Was it Jack McCurry?
Yep. Jack McCurry was my head coach, and Pat Carey was the defensive coordinator. And when I was there, Coach Kaz, Jim Cassandro, he was there coaching, and Nick Hand, Eric Kasparovich was on staff at that point as well. So we had a really good staff. And, one of the reasons I wanted to be a phys ed teacher and a football coach was because of those guys that I just mentioned, and had a really good experience with them.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that James was also coaching. When I interviewed him, it was talking about his playing career, but I didn't realize he was a coach.
Yeah. Heck of a coach.
Yeah, and he actually spoke to me recently. I don't know if you had heard that Gus Nauman had just passed away recently.
Yeah.
And I had him as a gym teacher. So, he was very close to Gus, and they went to the funeral and whatnot. Yeah. So did you try out for baseball at West Liberty State or Mount Union, or by that time did you set on just trying to make football your number one priority?
Yeah, I was only at West Liberty for one semester, and then when I transferred to Mount, it was kind of going into baseball season, so I was a little late arriving there. And then my sophomore year at Mount Union there, I was gonna try to go play baseball as well. But I knew I was going to be in a position battle going into my junior season there for getting starting position at safety. So I decided to just really attack the off season and focus on baseball or football. And so retired from baseball at that point, went in some old man softball, and that was about the closest thing I got to the diamond.
Well, now you're a head coach of high school. So is coaching something you dreamed of while you were still in high school or when you were younger, or did that decision come to you when your football career ended at college?
Yeah, when I was in high school, like I said, I had really good coaches growing up. From the youth on up in both football and baseball. Baseball wise, Bob Wider, who's in the North Hills Hall of Fame as well. He was my summer league baseball coach and a good friend of my family's, but a guy that really showed me, what it looked like to be a good coach, to earn the respect of players, but or show them that you love them and that, give them something to play for and understand who you are as a player, as a person, and demand a lot, have high expectations, have high standards. He's the best baseball coach I had ever had. And then, like I said, Jack McCurry, Pat Carey, Eric Kasparovich, Jim Cassandro, Nick Hand, like those guys were just, I had so much fun playing football in high school. Those guys were great mentors to me, almost like fathers at times. I wanted to have that same impact that they had on young people. And, that's why when I went to college, I majored in physical education and health. And, that was my first love. I wanted to go back and be a gym teacher and a football coach in North Hills. And then, I kind of fell into, and I had great coaches in college as well. Larry Karras, who's, in the College Football Hall of Fame, who's arguably the best coach in the history of college football. And his records are the best of all time, better than any Nick Saban or anybody like that. But again, same thing, he showed me what it really looked like to be a big time football coach at the college level and whatnot. And, that kind of opened the door for me to get into college coaching and I had a great experience there. And then, a lot of different factors kind of led me back to high school, but, I think it's the coaches that I had that kind of led me into coaching.
Excellent. So playing football, did you ever consider trying to get a tryout with an NFL team?
I wish, I'm not the biggest, certainly wasn't the fastest, relatively speaking to what those guys on Sundays are running. It's always a dream. You want to play at the highest level you can, but, had a good run as a player and everything. But it wasn't in the cards, and God didn't bless me with that type of talent to play. But he did bless me with a really good football mind and the ability to communicate and impact young people and change their lives for the better. So.
Well, that's good. That's a very good thing to know, and I respect that definitely. What was your favorite coaching role, either at Mount Union or Austin Peay State?
So at Mount Union, you mentioned it, that I had the opportunity to coordinate both offense and defense at the collegiate level. And, for your listeners that don't know much about Mount Union, I would recommend, doing a quick search and seeing what that program's all about, and the success and the 13 national championships that Mount Union has won since the early 90s, and the dynasty that's still going there today. It's a very successful program, continues to roll on, but being able to bounce, from defensive coordinator to offensive coordinator, winning a national championship, in both of those roles as a play caller, that's probably one of the things that I'm proud of, that, that took a lot of work, to do. And then, at Austin Peay State University, we had a really good team. Coach Scotty Walden, who's now the head coach at University of Texas, El Paso, was an awesome person and an extremely talented, young head coach. He's a couple years younger than me. But he showed me the ropes in terms of what it looks like to build a program, and how to treat people, and how to use your platform as a as a head coach and the influence that you have to show kids the way to finding God and to, raising their level of being a great person and to serve your community. So, I think just being a part of that staff down there in Tennessee at Austin Peay State University was such a blessing and was led down there for certainly a purpose. And I wouldn't be prepared for the job that I have now without going there. And then, my time at Mount Union, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I think one of my former guests, Tim Glass, who played at Mohawk High School in Pittsburgh and then went on. I'm pretty sure he played for Austin Peay basketball. So I'm familiar with that school.
It's a great spot.
And I like all that you said because I think really absolutely these days youth needs role models for sure. Absolutely, they do. So I like hearing things like that. Chris, 2023 represented your first year as head coach at Louisville High School in Louisville, Ohio, for those who don't know where it is. How'd your first season turn out?
We weren't very good. Our record was 1-9. We really only had about 2 or 3 returning letter winners as opposed to, returning starters. There wasn't a bunch of high end talent. We didn't have any Division I recruits. We had one kid sign a Division II football scholarship, and we got a couple kids going to play Division III football. We had to change the whole mindset of the program. It's a proud town and a historically rich, kind of like North Hills, football town. And that kind of got away over the last couple of years, but the love for the game and the love from the town is still there. And you got a lot of people that are very hungry, to be good. And, it's just, we're in the process right now and well on our way to switching the mindset, switching the culture, just instilling the values that you need to have a chance to win a game, let alone, win a championship. So, it was, in my opinion, year one, which, about a calendar year ago is when I got here. To me, it's been successful in terms of we're on our way to building a very successful program, right? The process by which we operate every single day is, it's the process of that championships are won by. So I know we're doing things the right way and we're holding the kids to an extremely high standard. Not only just, how we lift or how we practice, but how we act, how we serve our community, how we mentor the youth, how we treat people. So it's a success in that standpoint. And, that's what I'm in coaching for, is to mentor young kids and turn them into men and make them great fathers and great husbands. So from that standpoint, it's becoming a big success. The wins are going to come by the process that we do things. They're not going to come all at once, but we're going to have a better team next year than we did this past season. And our schedule is a little bit more favorable than what it was a year ago. We were a little outmatched by some of the schools that we played. But it's going well. I'm really enjoying myself, and it's a great challenge, to run a whole program and have to manage coaches and the whole thing from budgeting to fundraising to all that stuff. So it's a learning experience, just like anything you do for the first time. But being able to do things the way I had always envisioned doing it as a head coach, taking the principles that I've learned from all the great people that I've worked for and with, has really been an exciting time, and, frustrating at times. But you're always going to have the ups and downs, and you're never going to experience success without growth periods, which, when you fail, right?
Well, that's a breath of fresh air hearing that, how you teach, how you coach, because, like I said, we need more role models, and it sounds like you're doing an outstanding job at trying to be a good role model. Are your kids receptive to these things you're trying to teach?
They are. We have really good kids. They're hungry. They want to be shown the way. It's just like everybody wants it to happen. And that's the culture nowadays, is they want it to happen right away. And, praying for these kids that they're always, they have the patience, that they don't feel like they're just treading their tires all the time, that they see the good in what that's going to come. And, it might not translate to wins, but at the end of the day, and in 10 years, the one of the best things that you can ask for as a coach is when a player writes you a letter, an email, or a phone call or a text message that says, "Hey coach, like, I might not have liked you very much at this point, but thank you for what you did for me, what you showed for me, or I'd love to have you come to my wedding," or whatever it is. So we're laying that foundation now of really earning their trust and respect and love, and belief, and trying to build that within each other. Because at the end of the day, once you get that established, it becomes an unstoppable force.
Total Sports Recall is sponsored by Mira Artistry, where you can purchase beautiful fine art photography and abstract art. Contact Mira Artistry in regards to commissions and availability of the pieces on her site. She would like to create something special for you. For the photography and art lovers in your life, Mira Artistry has the perfect gifts for you. Visit Mira Artistry at www.miraartistry.com. That's MERAARTISTRY.com. MiraArtistry.com. So, me being a graduate of Slippery Rock, any of your kids heading that way?
Not this year. No, I don't think we have any kids over that way.
Yeah.
But I've played with a lot of guys in North Hills that played up there and had really successful careers too. So that's and they're rolling too up there, man. They're doing a really good job.
The last 4 years have been just amazing. And they keep making the playoffs, and they're just barely, almost making to the last four. And I keep hoping every year that they're going to get the championship. How did Louisville find you?
You know what? So we're located just outside of Canton, Ohio, where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is. So Mount Union, where I played and coached at, is right up the road. So it's about 15 minutes outside of Alliance, Ohio, where Mount Union is. My last 4 years coaching at Mount Union, we lived in town. So we lived down here, and my wife had a great job as a physical therapist and whatnot. And then when we decided that we were going to get out of coaching college football and kind of come back up more towards home here and be more around family and whatnot, it all kind of happened at the perfect timing that the head football job opened up. I have the certifications that of a position they were looking to fill as well. And, I knew the community, I knew the tradition that's here, and just kind of all the stars aligned all at once. And it just kind of felt like great timing. And there was just felt like the right place to be. And I'm really happy that I'm here.
Excellent. Well, as I already mentioned, I went to Slippery Rock University, which was back when I went there. It was Slippery Rock State College.
Yep.
And like you, I wanted to be a gym teacher, as you are now. And I have a friend who grew up in the house right next to mine. Neighbor of mine, he's graduated North Hills and Slippery Rock, and back in the day we used to play sports in the street. He now too is a physical education teacher in Colorado. What do you value the most from being a phys ed teacher, Chris? I think you mentioned some stuff already, but
yeah. So it's a little different now. Like high schools nowadays, if you play sports, you don't have to take phys ed credit. Wow. So kids get credit for that. So I kind of have two angles on this. Number one, I start my days each day in the elementary schools with the special ed kids. So that we have two elementary schools in our district. I bounce back and forth each day, and I get to spend the first period of every day with some physically or mentally challenged kids. That's extremely humbling and kind of puts things in perspective of life and what real problems that families and people have in their days. But that's a very rewarding job as well. A job that not a lot of people want to do, and the people that God bless them that spend their days all day with these children. You couldn't pay these people enough for the work that they do and the impact they have on these kids. So to be able to get out there and get those kids moving, teaching them the most basic things, but seeing the progress that they have and their ability to learn how to catch or throw or jump or run or the slightest little things that most people take for granted. I mean, that's very rewarding. And then I also teach a weight training class at the high schools. So I end my days in the high schools. And, a lot of the kids that take their phys ed credits, they're non-athletes. So a lot of the kids in those classes, they don't know what it looks like to work hard. They don't know what it looks like to, lift weights and want to, go out there because they want to be the strongest kid and take a hit or deliver a hit or carry the football or whatever it is, So just seeing the confidence that these just normal students can get and the growth in their, personalities and how much they change. And I've only been doing this for, a half a year. Right. Yeah. And just seeing the changes that these kids have is awesome. Right. And it reminds you of, the impact that you can have just as a teacher in the school. And, I hold those kids the same standard that, the last period of the day is all football players that come in and do weight training. And, I hold those kids that are general students that same standard. And, there's a way we operate. The weight's got to be put back this certain way. We're going to get these sets done in this amount of time. And like those kids, they love it, right? They feel a sense of pride and ownership that, I'm being held to a high standard, the same way that the football kids are. And I tell my football players, you're going to be held to a standard that's higher than anybody else in this building from a day in and day out deal. So it's a, from a multiple standpoint, it's very rewarding every single day. And, there's obviously challenges in anything that you do. But at the end of the day, you're impacting some young people and there's hope for the future of America.
I certainly hope so. I want to stick on the subject for a moment, but I want to step back for a second because I meant to ask you with your football team in case you share this podcast with your students and your players and give them a chance to hear their name here on the podcast. Who are your best players returning on the squad for this year, next football season? Yeah, we got
a really good returning squad of guys. We invested a lot of time in a lot of young players and underclassmen this past year. So we got a senior class it's filled with a bunch of guys that are unselfish players that are committed. They're tough. They're relentless. They're men of integrity. They're loyal to the program, and which are our core values of our program right there. Mm-hmm. But guys like Colton Lloyd, guys like Cooper Rice, Jacob Galbraith, Cam Doherty, these guys, Tadal Jancic, these guys are going to be big time players for us this year, and guys that played significant roles last year, didn't get a ton of glory because we didn't have much success as a team, but guys that are really working their tails off and they don't care about the notoriety at all, which is what I love about them. They're working their tails off to help the guy next to them become the best that they can be, and for us to achieve success on and off the field together as a whole program and as a community. So, we got a really good group of guys, and then we started a couple freshmen last year. We started a good handful of sophomores, and I'll let those guys kind of earn their keep a little bit more before we start throwing their names around. But we got a lot of guys that deserve a lot of credit. But it's an exciting time, and there's going to be a lot of names too that people haven't heard their name yet that are going to step up and surprise some people. So,
who's your quarterback?
We're gonna have a little battle there. So we had a senior quarterback last year. So we got two guys coming back that saw some time and practiced all year as quarterbacks and saw some JV and whatnot, and played other positions too on varsity. So they have experience. They're not going to be going in there, for the first time and trying to learn the quarterback position. So we got quite a few guys that will put our program in a really good position to be successful.
Cool. Well, so back to the physical education teacher thing. I've always been curious, and I'm an old man. I'm 65 this May. So my high school days and elementary school days go way back, but I'm always curious about how they run gym classes these days. Because back in my day, they used to make you do push-ups, and we used to do actual exercising. And I made my wife laugh because in elementary school, we actually had square dancing in gym class.
Oh, yeah.
She thought I was kidding, but
I did that too with Mr. Bender at Ross Elementary.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. What elementary school did you go to?
I went to Ross.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Ross as it was junior high school when I
Yeah.
went there.
Yeah, my parents, like you went with my parents went there. My parents would have been a couple years older than you.
Wow.
But so
That's crazy. So these days, what's a typical gym class?
So it's not far off, especially for the elementary kids. Like I said, I work with the special ed kids, so we don't do all of the that type of push-ups and all that stuff. We do some of it to teach them those things and try to build those muscles and skills. But like my oldest, he's in kindergarten right now, and he's learning how to do the pacer test. Wow. So, they play it on the loudspeaker, and every time that bell rings, you got to be across and back. So they do that, like a conditioning test. They do push-ups, they do box jumps, they do wall sits, they do pull-ups, they do Olympic Day where they run the certain yard dash and sprints and relays and stuff. So a lot of the fundamental things that have been done for a long time, they still do those things. Not as much like square dancing like you talked about. We use it's kind of cool. They do Wii dancing. Have you ever used a Nintendo Wii? So it's pretty cool. We put it up on a projector screen right on the wall of the gym, turn all the lights off, and the kids just try to model the dancing that's on there. And it's different styles of dancing, from salsa to hip hop to square dancing, stuff like that.
That's crazy.
But I mean, we do the same stuff. We use the big parachutes. The one thing we did at Ross when I was in elementary school. We always did a lot more like stuff with big pads on the track team pads and whatnot, and climbing the rope. We're not allowed to do that stuff anymore, really. But
oh man, climbing rope was great.
I know.
I used to love that.
Insurance company probably says that the payment's too high for that.
Yeah. So obviously, growing up in the Berg, you must be a Pirates and Steelers fan. So a couple of questions for you on both teams.
Yep.
Put your coaching hat on now, Chris. And for the first Steelers question, Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph?
Oh man, I'd say neither.
Neither. Oh my gosh. I'm
a
Mason Rudolph guy. I like the way he finished the season. I didn't think he ever got a fair shake. And
I agree.
Everybody's all over Kenny Pickett. I mean, it's almost like they are going to make him number one no matter what.
Right.
And then you hear all these trade rumors going around with Justin Fields. I said, I don't know. I want Justin Fields in Pittsburgh.
No. It's tough. And you got to have an elite quarterback to play at the end of the season, right? With those top four teams every single year. And I just haven't seen it from Kenny Pickett to say that like he has even flashed, at that level to say he can lead this team. And Rudolph did a good job, but same thing. I just don't think, you're not going to sign him to a new contract and him all of a sudden become, in the same conversation with Pat Mahomes. So I think, you got to find a new avenue to go down in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, neither one are really like the superstar status.
Right.
It'll never happen.
And you don't have a good enough team around them for him to be like Brock Purdy, right?
Exactly. It was kind of a disappointment this season because I really thought they have a lot of talent on the team. There's no question about that.
Yep.
And I think quarterback was the major issue. And center and
I agree. Punting was terrible.
So I had Jim Tridnich on the show a couple weeks ago, and he is the Pirates historian. So that was kind of cool. We had a good conversation about the Pirates, and he said he's hopeful. He thinks they're going to be around the 77, 80 win range. Sure. He thinks they're going to do pretty well. And it's been a long time, well, at least since 2015 when McCutcheon and his crew got to the playoffs. But, we're waiting since then for them to be competitive again. And they got off to a fast start last year.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh, my God, I can't believe they're doing this well.
Fell back to earth.
Sudden, I said, this is the Pirates. You know what's going to happen. And it's going to get later in the season. They're going to tank. And I don't know. What do you think about the Pirates going into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year is probably another rebuilding year. But, you do see a window here probably in the next 2 to 5 years where some of these kids are going to grow into, superstars, could be, with O'Neal Cruz coming back and Paul Skeens coming up, and he's gonna get probably gonna take his lumps. but hopefully he pans out and becomes a superstar that he can. And then, you just like to see them when they do have that chance and those kids are growing into the window that, or into the players that they're potentially going to become, that they go out and spend, some money on one or two players that can, piece this whole team together. And, they're always going to try to hit the jackpot on a veteran signing like AJ Burnett cashed out, or, guys like that, Russell Martin, but you hope they don't just keep kicking the can down the road and the prospect doesn't pan out. So they miss that window and then they trade him and don't get anything in return. And, it's sad seeing the wheels churning and not gaining much traction and climbing that hill. Cause you see the Florida Marlins do it. You see the, teams like that they go from bottom to top, and it's that same thing going up and down. But they compete for championships, which other than 2013, the Pirates haven't done that.
Yeah, and I asked Jim this question because there's a huge misconception among Pirate fans across the country. They're always complaining about the Pirates not spending money.
Sure.
And Jim pretty much addressed that by saying, listen, we're small market.
Yeah.
Without a salary cap, it's tough to compete with the Yankees and the Dodgers of the world. And he made a very good point. And they're trying. And he says the owner and Nutting wants to win. It's not like he doesn't want the team to be a winner. But your hands are kind of tied. And he thinks one day baseball might get a salary cap, and that would be good.
And winning brings more money. So you got I know that some of the contracts that they have limits on what they want to spend, but sometimes you got to go over that and try to compete with that. And, you're only going to bring yourself more revenue by winning more and give, because I think Pittsburgh could be as good of a baseball town as there is out there. And you saw it in 2013. I was at the Cueto game.
Oh my God. I was going to bring that up next. I asked you, I said, of course I was here in Florida, but that game, I said to him, was it as loud in the stadium as it was on video? I mean, Chris, I told him I've watched that. The first time I watched it, it was so incredible. I watched it 3 or 4 more times, right back to back. Yeah. And I told him that is one video shot with Russell Martin and the drop into the ball. That's one video you could watch 1,000,000 times and it never gets old.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was amazing live. And here's a funny story. So a kid that I was coaching at Mount Union, he was from Florida. Same hometown. He's Andrew McCutchen's cousin. Right. Wow. So this kid's by himself up here and he doesn't really know how close Pittsburgh is. So he had told me one time that, he was McCutchen's cousin. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like we should, I said, get some tickets or something like that. Like I'll take you over to the stadium. Like we'll go. And so like all of a sudden he approaches me like that week and we're in, in season. And that was like a Wednesday night or something like that practice or game. And so like he comes up to me. He's like, hey, my cousin got me tickets to the game. I'm like Andrew McCutchen got you tickets? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'll give you a ticket if you can drive me over there to Pittsburgh. So I'm like, all right. Gosh. I'm like, well, the game starts at 7. Like we got practice that doesn't get over till 6. Yeah. So I had to man up and go ask the head coach if I could get out of practice a little bit earlier to go over the Pirates wild card game. And he let us, and we had pretty awesome seats and everything. But that was a game that I will never, ever forget. I mean, I was showing my boy, absolutely. I still have the ticket.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you one of the thousands chanting Cueto?
I was. Yeah. One of my other buddies was there, and he was sitting on the other side. He was sitting on the first base side. We were on third base side. And as soon as we got out of the game, we had parked in to buy him, and I was like, oh man, what a great game. He's like, I started the Cueto chant. So we always joke with people that I know the guy that started the Cueto chant, which I doubt he did. But
regardless, that is the most amazing fan moment I've ever seen. I've been watching baseball since 1971, and nothing tops that. I don't think anything ever will top that.
I agree.
I could watch that 1,000 times more. And it's just hilarious. At the same time, it just gives you chills listening to all those fans.
Yep.
I mean, it's crazy. So 2 more questions for you, Chris. We're going to go back to the Steelers. 1, your opinion of Mike Tomlin. 2, how do you think they're going to fare next season?
I think Tomlin's a good coach. I do. I think he has let some of the Steelers' way slide a little bit, with some of the selfishness that goes on with some of these guys now, but especially, and it's been younger. It's consistently been younger players that come onto the roster that don't seem to have the respect of the organ, don't seem to respect the organization's culture and the older players on the team and the coaching staff, and they make it about them. So I do have an issue with, you can't just bail out and say, that's today's culture. Like, no, like you get to pick these guys, you got to like that's one of the things that makes the Steelers year in and year out, and always will, is the culture that's here of defense and hard nose and toughness and doing things the right way. So it's kind of sad to see sometimes that some of these guys have not panned out because they were allowed to act certain ways as young players, and then they, it kind of snowballed on top of themselves. But I also do think that he does bring a lot of upside too. I do think he's a good coach. He's a good motivator. He connects with the players really well. He's done it for a long time. And there's a reason why he's had the success he's had, and then you asked next year, how do you think we're going to do? I think that, that depends on the quarterback situation. I think, I think they got to address just, O-line and quarterback. They're always going to do well with getting defensive players, with TJ Watt and Highsmith. You're going to be good on defense. Linebacker too. That's one thing they got to address. That was some of the poorest linebacker play, and I know they had injuries, and some of those guys were playing out of necessity. But those three positions, linebacker can solidify that defense into an elite defense, and then if they get the quarterback and maybe one more piece on that O line could really make that thing click. Because the backfield I think is great.
I can't remember his name now. It's slipped my mind. This center they were going crazy over. He's got a double last name, Jack Johnson something.
Yeah, I forget his name. Yeah,
I was looking at him. Oh my God, this kid's a monster.
Yeah, he's gonna be really good.
And if they really, I think, should draft him number one. Right?
Yeah,
absolutely, go after this kid. And so I think they also need another punter. For sure. Yeah.
Oh shoot, you could have picked somebody up off the street that could have done better than that guy last year, man. I don't even know his name, but this was what was awesome about this year. Like, this is the first year that since I was playing college football. This past season was the first time I've ever had Sundays, where I could actually watch a Steelers game and follow NFL football. I've always been a fan, but I was able to get to a couple games this year and take my son to a game. And coaching college football Sundays are you get up, you go to church, and you are glued to that film for the rest of the day until probably 11 o'clock at night. So
did you hear all that noise Le'Veon Bell's making?
I saw that he wants to come back and
he said the only team I'll play for is the Steelers if I come back. If he's got any gas left in the tank, I'd take him. I mean,
he wouldn't be able to last the whole season. There's reasons why people don't mess with old running backs.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure having you on Total Sports Recall. And just as I've told other North Hills Hall of Famers, because I've had several before you, you made the city and the school very proud with your accomplishments, which obviously have been recognized. And before we close the show, I just want to give you the opportunity for any parting words you might have.
No, thanks for having me on. I think, very happy to see, North Hills alumni out there following other people around. And I'm proud to represent the community and stay in touch with a lot of people from back over that way. Proud to be a Pittsburgh fan and over here in Ohio, it's we got a strong following over here for the Steelers, at least the Steelers over here in Browns country. But thanks for having me on and thanks for the platform you provide. I think, this is it's a way to serve as well, and that's what's, my goal in life is to serve other people and make sure that the good word of God's getting out there, but also the good, spreading what good people are doing around and having a platform to do so, and leading the charge on carrying this next generation on. So I appreciate you having me on.
Well, you've made Pittsburgh proud, Chris, and thank you for taking the invitation. So for Chris Pappas, this is Harv Aronson saying you can visit the Total Sports Recall official website at totalsportsrecall.com, and feel free to email me with any comments or suggestions at totalsportsrecall@gmail.com. If you'd like to make any comments about the show or any comments about Chris Pappas, please email me. It's totalsportsrecall@gmail.com. Until next weekend, I want to wish all of you a wonderful week ahead.
The contents of this podcast do not represent the opinions of others and are solely the opinions of Harv Aronson based on his experience, knowledge, and research.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by to listen to another episode here on the Sports History Network. Our podcasters are passionate about uncovering and sharing sports stories from yesteryear. And if you didn't know it already, we have over 30 shows across the network covering all sorts of sports history topics. In fact, here's a glimpse into one of our awesome podcasts here on the network. Do you wish you knew more about the 100 seasons of the NFL? You're in luck because you found the Football History Dude podcast, where each episode is a journey back in time to learn about the rich history of the NFL. From the founding of the league in an auto showroom, all the way to what it is today, America's favorite sport and a behemoth of an industry. My name is Arnie Chapman. Football is my passion, and I want you to come along with me each week to explore the yesteryear of the gridiron. So hop on board my DeLorean and let's get this baby up to 88 miles per hour. How about that? I bet you're super hyped to go listen to that new podcast, right? Well, to learn about this show and all the other podcasts on the network, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/podcasts. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/podcasts. Head over there today to find your next favorite sports history podcast.